we go ahead, right? Okay, great. So we are live. Welcome to International Youth Conference Edition 6. This year with the theme of Serve, Lead and Innovate. I'm your host, Hira Amreen. I'm a public administrator, currently working as a team lead for research depository of Cognite in Pakistan, involving the stakeholders, the corporate, the whole industries to government sector for developing an ecosystem for mental health and collect data for the advocacy and policy for our future betterment. And I'm so glad to have you three on board. Thank you so much for joining. It's a really early morning, Sunday. I never thought Sunday would look this beautiful and pretty ready and active. To have you here, such intellectual readers I have today on a great topic about impact of innovation in building sustainable communities. It's such a pleasure that we are doing this and we're highlighting such important issues about the goal number 11 of Sustainable Development Goals given by UNO of make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. I think let's all just welcome each other with a world of post-COVID, a world where we are in, a history that we have seen, and the history we have made through it from post pandemic issues. And who knows that back 15 years, maybe, down the line with the Millennium Goals and people were settling down with other policies, who knows that natural disaster will come and all of a sudden we'll come up on the note that what we are believing to impact will give us more challenges than we thought of. And now when we know those things are in the history that is made, we are here together to solve those issues, to think ahead, to believe in ourselves on an innovative world, on a world of technology, and a world where the communities needs to be resilient, but a community needs to be united. And how we are doing that, that's so important for us to address today. So I would love to introduce you guys with each other. Um, starting with Eva Stephen, my dear friend who is from Cameroon. He's just incredible. Thank you, Stephen, for joining us today. It's early morning there, 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I'm still short of words of saying how grateful to have him. But on a brief introduction, he has been part of multiple international organizations. He has a master's degree in international cooperation and human aids. He's also an agriculture engineer and hold a certification course in entrepreneurship. He's currently also a senior officer at International Federation of Red Cross, serving as the Community Engagement and Accountability of Africa. He has been a volunteer to United Nations, Commonwealth, Peace Building Ambassador. He's currently also a national director of GCI. Um, he's been great with all the work he do. He have expertise in working in peace building and social cohesion and sustainability for the people at his community and across globe. He's an activist of peace, and yes, he was also country ambassador of Awareness 360, where we both connected each other. Right now He's also working as a researcher and analyst to the society. Um, yes. So, I mean, and there's much more to add in his profile, but for now, welcome. How are you?
Hello, Ira. Thank you. I'm fine.
Great. I'm just testing out.
And hello, everyone. I hope you're very well. And good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. And we have other young, very energetic human with me. She's a dear friend of mine. She's Sarah Rasek. She's currently leading Impact Dashboard, an impact-driven narrative specialist company that creates PR campaign related to environmental and social advocacy. She did her undergrad in ethics, society, and law, and critical studies in equity and solidarity. She has been a part of multiple leadership positions previously, that includes being a director of communications to assist research programs. And finally, we have our third speaker here. She's Nida Mehmood, a chief operating officer at AtomCam. Hi, Nida, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Now we'll move to your introduction. I thought, yeah. So she's a chief operating officer at AtomCam, a company that accelerates learning and encourages the interdisciplinary policy research and advocacy on social, economical, and technological issues. She did her master's in urban regeneration and development from University of Manchester. She she's great with the being a great artist. Her drawings are really, really, really incredible. She's been a part of previous companies that includes her being a research assistant and an urban development expert. Thank you, Nida, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So now we guys are all in the same page. Let's move to our topic about impact of innovation in building sustainable communities. I wonder, this is a very difficult topic to understand, and after post pandemic, we all know that right now we are also connected with the technology from across the globe, either if it's Africa to Nida being United Kingdom. Thank you, Sarah, for being in a one page and being from Karachi, Pakistan live, but Sarah also belongs to Toronto. So yeah, let's get started on the questions, which firmly I think let's start on what do you think about how community plays an active role in building the innovation process? I would love Stephen to go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to take the lead on this one. Thank you for
Sure.
inviting me. I'm sorry, did I cut off? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Okay,
Yeah,
hear
we
you
sorry,
can
can
hear
you
now.
you
You
hear
very
cut
me?
off
well.
for
Is
a
it?
while a bit.
Oh, okay. If somebody else wants to go ahead, you can go ahead and then I'll go after.
You can go ahead, Sarah. It was just you cut off, so I thought to give it to Steph. Yeah.
Oh, okay, no worries. So before I get into it, I just want to kind of start off by saying that a lot of my theory or where I stand, it's informed by a Marxist critique of society, of capitalism. And so when I think about innovation, I think about the ways in which capitalism serves as a barrier to the innovative tendency of people. I think that as human beings, again, applying a materialist approach to my understanding of human nature, I think that human beings are inherently innovative. I think that we as humans want to figure out the best way to decrease the socially necessary labor time to, increase our standards of living. And so when I think about how communities, as specific to the question, how communities can come together to increase the innovative tendency in society, I think about, again, the first thing I think about is capitalism and the barriers, and how it's unfortunate that we live within a society where people aren't granted the right, or they aren't granted the space to be innovative, to question, to critique. And I think that it's important to begin by recognizing how key cooperation is in innovation, and how from problem solving to sharing expertise, to developing new and creative ideas, it's so important to have varying, diverse voices and perspectives be included in that discourse. And so I think that community building is key to innovation. And I think that this question is really great because we can at least identify innovation, cooperation or community building as being a key feature to increasing innovation by slash through engaging a wide audience or a wider audience in society.
Interesting. Thank you for your insight. Let's move to another speaker. Stephen, can you go ahead with the same question? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ira. And thanks, Ira, for that great input. Yeah, and to complement what you just said, we all know that um, to adopt innovation is something that is at times very difficult in our communities. So generally, we have like five group of people when it comes to innovation adoption. We have the enthusiasts. They are just like 24% of the total community, and these are people who are ready to easily adopt innovation as soon as it comes. We have the pragmatic. These are people, they are ready to adopt this innovation, but generally they would like to see what is the impact on the enthusiasts. And now we have the bivalent. These are 20% of the community. They want to adopt the innovation, but at times they'll wait like 6 to 12 months to see what is the impact of this innovation on the other two group of people. And now we have the skeptic. Um, they represent 25% of the total population. And yeah, they're likely to adopt the innovation, but with a lot of difficulties. They have many barriers like they're facing rumors, they're facing misinformations. So this prevents them from really adopt this innovation. And now we have the cynics. These are people who will never adopt innovation, and they represent like 12% of the population. And the work we are trying to do in the field is to see how we can bring these skeptics and these cynics to be able to adopt innovation by providing appropriate information and by integrating them in all the activities we carry out in communities. For instance, when I was working in Cameroon, that's in the final region of Cameroon, and I would like to precise that Cameroon is a region that is a country that has been impacted by Boko Haram, and Boko Haram is an armed group. So in the final region where these armed group really carry out the activities, we face a lot of difficulties because we have internally displaced people, we have refugees, we have returnees, and all these people they're living in the same community, and there are many conflict among them. So one of the innovation we wanted to put or we put in place was to really strengthen or setting up the conflict management committee in these communities in order to promote social cohesion, in order to promote pacific coexistence. And this is also a community that is being characterized by the fact that where elders and men are present, women and youth can speak. And we know it is very important when youth and women are involved in all decision making that concerns them. So this was a very great challenge for us to really integrate youth, integrate women in these committees, and most importantly, to be able to integrate all these social groups like the refugees, the internally displaced people, the returnees in this group. So what we did was to work with the community, to work in close collaboration with the community leaders, with the traditional leaders, with the youth representative, with the women representative, and we were able to carry out advocacy that really permitted that women and youth should be integrated in this committee and should be able to speak for the different groups. And more to that, they went further, proposing that we should put in place subcommittee for women and subcommittee for youth. And this can permit that each time youth are having problem and that they are facing difficulties to submit these problems in the conflict management committee, they can always go to the youth subcommittee if this is a youth to address this problem. And if it's a woman, she can go to the women subcommittee and address this problem. And what we noticed before I left the final region, we noticed that conflict were really managed in the community. and the number of conflict also reduced. Okay, and the number of conflict that were resolved, let's say, how can I say, juridically, was also reduced. In communities, they were able to identify the problems, identify the causes of this problem, propose solutions, and they were able to um, put in place activities that permitted to promote social cohesion and pacific coexistence in these communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Very brief answer. Yeah. Before we move ahead, I would like Nida to share some thoughts about the community innovation that she thinks plays an active role in building the community.
Thank you, Hira. I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me, and it's great to be part of this great panel with Stefan and Sarah. I think community building it's a very key thing in innovation. I think actually building the community, I think it takes a very sort of conscious and a very active effort to create a community, to maintain a community, engage them, have them sort of interacting with like within the community and with each other. I think community building, actually going to the community and asking, asking those people who are facing those issues, they probably have a better, the best idea of how to innovate and how to sort of address the problems. So I think kind of going to them and allowing kind of that diversity and bringing people together in the community from maybe they're from like different backgrounds or different fields, but having them kind of like bounce off each other. I think bringing that diversity and that inclusion together within the community, that's a really important role in kind of the innovation process. And I think innovation can be maybe we sort of we could see it as like a innovation, like what is innovation? Is it like tech related things, or is it like a big thing? But I think it has like different contexts. And I think at the sort of like community level, it can be very kind of basic things. So even going to sort of the grassroots community level, sort of just actually building the community and just seeing what comes out of those interactions. I think that's also a key part of the innovation process.
I think very well said. I mean, all the speakers are on the same page of how the innovative solution should build, and how we need to take through the community engagement and build on a grassroots level of innovation for each other. But now, when we go step back on the time when it was COVID and at the pandemic, we all were in homes and everything was locked down. This was like a tech related thing that we got innovative solutions to learning, we got innovative solutions to work, and then we were accessible to meet each other through Zoom, Google Meet, or how many browsers that were launched at that point. So we do see the graph within the pandemic of uprising the scales of you know social enterprise businesses and finding new solutions to the table. But on that note, do you believe how we as a community are working for innovation? And this debate should go to the stakeholders and the market to solve some problems that at the grassroots levels, which mainly the developing countries do face. And think about how sustainable human desire post pandemic look like, you know. Yeah. Sarah, would you like to go ahead on some new forms of actions that you have seen in COVID-19 through innovations?
Yeah, I can tell you about my experience. So I was in Toronto. That's where I've been for the past few years. I'm just in Karachi for a bit. But over there, I know that we held many reading circles and many just healing circles as well, where we didn't only center the voices of those who again have been ignored um, in society or like within the dominant discourse, but we took part in like a class analysis. And so, for example, if we had a feminist circle where we were putting together action items and what the community needs in terms of relief related to COVID-19, it wasn't like upper class, cisgender white women in that circle. We really made sure to include the voices of those who were ignored. And so we utilized an intersectional analysis to even that feminist circle. And so when I think about the problem that you've put forward, I think that it's not only important to center ignored voices, or rather those that may not be as, apparent in, again, dominant discourse, or like whatever the dominant narratives of the time may be, but especially those voices that are even further excluded from whichever voice, the voice in question. And so that's kind of just my experience in Toronto and kind of dealing with how to come back from COVID, and how it's affected different marginalized communities. Again, centering voices and then creating tangible action items and agendas that then be used to propose to leaders within different spheres, being the private sector, the public sector. We did this in school as well. Certain people weren't able to attend in-person classes because, for example, their commute was longer, they didn't live in the downtown core. And so again, centering those experiences and then coming together as a community, outlining how their goals and their visions are shared and are collective. And through that, legitimizing these very legitimate expectations that people had from the wider community by coming together and kind of just making them tangible, if that makes sense.
Well said, Sarah. This is about how we need to highlight the marginalized community within within the globe and to improve the innovations. Um, Nida, I do remember that Atom Camp was launched at this time of pandemic, and from that perspective, you have been a great expert to the curriculum design. What do you think? How innovation is playing part to the curriculum and the learning strategies, and how we are developing those skills to the youth and to the whole enlarge the community. I don't think I do believe that education should be part of everyone. It's not just the youth needs to be focused, or the Gen Z or the millennials that we have will be a part of those community, but also our parents, our grandparents living at the stage of 21st century. The generation gap is large, but we all need to be on the same page to live a life and to live a sustainable life. So what's your say on that?
Yes, thank you, Hira. So the kind of work we're doing at Atom Camp, so we are a continuous learning platform, and we also do a lot of work sort of around so as a social enterprise. So as you mentioned, yes, Atom Camp did start sort of in the COVID period. So a lot of our we were doing online courses, so we basically focus on like skill development, and we also have a focus on entrepreneurship, particularly women entrepreneurship. So in terms of sort of skill development, our courses were online. So obviously because of the rise of sort of like Zoom and Google Meet and other sort of video conferencing platforms, so we were able to conduct our courses online. And because they were online, we could kind of maximize the like diversity and the outreach across Pakistan. So mainly our participants were from Pakistan, but also, across the world from UK, US, Canada, Europe, and other countries as well. So I think because it was online, it was kind of very accessible to a lot of people. So maximizing the diversity and sort of inclusion across the country and also the globe as well. So that was quite a key thing. Another thing in terms of kind of like, because we were focusing on the Pakistani market, so again, to, maximize the diversity and inclusion, our courses were mainly sort of conducted in English and Urdu, but a lot in Urdu, so kind of to, maximize the diversity and get as many people to focus on sort of skills and, kind of learn new things. And we also had quite a diverse sort of not just regions, but also, we had like students, we had professionals, we had maybe some kind of like older people who wanted to learn a new skill, or they wanted to sort of like upskill themselves. So on that side, I think we, that I think it did help us to kind of reach more people and kind of promote the message of sort of continuous learning, and the kind of need to upskill and go into different sort of skills. Another thing is, I think, because of the pandemic, it kind of changed the way the people were working, the sort of the skills that were needed, even coming out of the pandemic. A lot of the skills and a lot of maybe the jobs that were kind of before the pandemic, maybe they became a little bit redundant. So kind of upskilling and kind of going into new areas, and that kind of allowed us, we can kind of explore and sort of bring different fields. Maybe some fields that not everybody, like, kind of thought about, so kind of for themselves, and new sort of new lines, new fields for them to explore. I want to come back to sort of the community building point. So because we were, as I mentioned, so we were doing online courses across, so our participant pool was from across Pakistan, across the world. So that community building aspect was very key for us. So we wanted to, like, once we completed a course, we didn't want to kind of just sort of, leave the participants. We wanted to keep them engaged and like kind of invite them into future courses, doing like different webinars, and really creating that community of both the trainers and the participants, and really keep them engaged in some kind of for future events. And now coming out of the pandemic, we have been able to do kind of more physical events. So we've had, different events. We've done even things like kind of art therapy type workshops, which has allowed us to do sort of physical events and kind of explore a different side. So maybe these are, it is like these are important things for the community as well, and also having like different meetups and stuff. So I think the community building aspect is very key to Atom Camp. And also kind of the pandemic has allowed us to increase sort of diversity and reach maximum people.
Thank you for your answer. It was great. Adam Cam is doing a great job. As Nita mentioned about e-learning strategies, I wonder this was our gadgets that make pandemic awareness campaigns more productive and more aware to the people as compared to other sectors. So, when it comes to media or it comes to the innovation side, the tech, we have, there were great opportunities for us to know about the awareness about COVID-19, what's happening, what are the variants that are coming from, and everything. So, Stephen, I do have a question for you. On the ground of Africa, how was it for you and for the community in your country to access e-learning strategies, and what are the process what are the process that you have taken to access the awareness about COVID-19?
Okay. Ira, thank you very much for that question. I hope you're getting me very well. We are facing some internet connection. Okay. Concerning the e-learning process, to me, it was not that difficult because before even COVID-19, I was already promoting in learning. Being a member of GCI, in 2017, I was recognized as one of the most active citizens in Cameroon, and this gave me the possibility to participate in the Commonwealth Youth Forum in London in 2018. So after this forum, when I came back, I wanted to really share with other Cameroonians what we what we did during the Commonwealth Youth Forum, and what are the objectives for the Commonwealth Youth Council, and how we the Cameroonian youth we can participate in achieving this objective. So I had to put in place a strategy to organize an event to present and to engage young Cameroonians. But unfortunately, I didn't have enough resources to do that. So I had to do it online. And that is where I put in place an e-forum where I had to mobilize more than 160, like 65 young active citizens Cameroon, where we participated online to be able to like share this agenda, work on this agenda, propose specific agenda for Cameroon, and how we can contribute in achieving this agenda. So when COVID-19 came, this was just like yeah, we already have a good experience on this, and we can just continue with that within Junior Chamber International. And now we decided to put in place very good project within GCI or within the Junior Chamber International to be able to promote this e-learning. And with Awareness 360, this was an opportunity for us to really impact a lot of young people around the world because we were able to put in place um, an international online internship program where we have youth. Specifically, I was working in the project management department where every 3 months we have a set of youth that we empower, we support for them to have new knowledge or good knowledge on project management. Okay, so I can say in Africa we had some difficulties because many people were not really aware of, in fact, we're not really using technology. So there was a great challenge for us. And also with the internet connection we are facing, because I can say in Africa, we don't really have good internet bandwidth. So this was also a great challenge because when you're organizing the training online, you need people to participate. They will participate, but not all the people will participate actively because they don't have good internet connection. Another challenge was to each time we organize online training was to really engage the participant. It is something very difficult. You're organizing the training online. You don't know who is in front of the computer. You don't know who is participating, and being member of the facilitator network, we had to come up with new tools, with new techniques that can really permit to be able to engage a lot um, participant during online workshop. So we were able to propose great tools that will permit facilitator to really animate their online sessions like offline session, making it to be very proactive, making it to be very, very dynamic. So this is the approach we use for the different online trainings. And I can say we are still facing the same challenges because working with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent, we are supporting very, very right, or we are supporting many countries. And we have countries like Chad, like South Sudan, where each time we are connected, it is very difficult to work with them due to the fact that the internet connection is not stable. And at times you have to go into the country to really understand the realities, like in CAR, Central African Republic, where I had to work with the Red Cross volunteers. I noticed that they have the desire to really learn new things, to be able to connect online, but the internet connection doesn't permit them to do this. Okay, so I think we need to be thinking of new approaches. It is true now with since the COVID-19 is really reducing, we are able to organize face-to-face meetings, but I think we should think about um, new approaches where if COVID come back, how we can do to really maximize on online training. And I don't know how we can do this, but due to the fact that we are having a lot of internet connection with many countries, we are having a lot of how can I say, many people don't really know how to use internet, if I can say like that. Some don't have good knowledge on webinars, on online trainings. I think civil society organizations should take this as their mandate to be able to empower all the youth in their community on how they can use these gadgets, because this is something that's very important for us. This is like our future. Today, you don't need to be present to say you're taking a master degree. Online, you can take your master degree. Online, you can do a lot of research. Okay, so this is like the future for us, and young people in Africa really need to have this capacity to be able to use this tool to build object capacity. Okay, so yeah, that's what I can say. And one of the main thing that we noticed, like the innovation with COVID-19, is this risk communication and community engagement component. And in some organization, we call it accountability to affected people. Okay. And the approach that we have been using, or that most organization has been using, is to be able to put in place a system that will promote two-way communication, because it is one thing to give information to the community, but it is another thing to have information from the community to be able to identify those rumors, to be able to identify misinformation, and to propose messages that will permit to really target these rumors and this misinformation. And one way to do that is through two-way communication. If we are using mass communication like radio programming, we need to make sure that our radio program is something that will permit us to be able to collect information and also to share information to the community. This is something that is very important. And that is why, if we're implementing activities, we need to be able to put in place like a feedback mechanism. So this is something that we need to also apply in our learning system, or in our e-learning system. We need to put in place a feedback mechanism where we can be able to listen to the participant, or to a client, or to our beneficiaries. How do they think we can improve our e-learning approach based on the difficulties they're facing, based on the challenges they're facing? If we put in place this feedback mechanism, I think we'll be able to have good propositions from the community, and this will permit us to really improve our way of doing our e-learning, or our e-learning approach. Thank you, Ira.
Yeah, thank you. It was a thoughtful insight. But I do have a related question to that. Actually, Nida also mentioned about the e-learning strategies when she founded Atom Camp, and it was a community of a global community of people joining from Canada, US, UK, Europe, and then they all are appreciating the e-learning strategies and e-learning and how she designed the curriculum for people, and involving the technology. What is the scenario at your country that do people appreciate e-learning right now? Do they appreciate the innovative solutions regardless what how internet issues they have, and how less of accessibilities for the technology they have, or are they back to the in-person learning?
Well, I think currently in Cameroon, many people are appreciating e-learning. I have I know many youth that have put in place solutions for e-learning to be able to permit young people to acquire more information on what they really want to learn. And we all know, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen that e-learning is an innovative approach that is beneficiary for all the young people. At first, to be able to take some set of training, you had to travel to take this training. But today, you can use e-learning and have all the training you want. I will take my example. For I wanted to take PMP, project management professional, and I was having difficulties because I had to take it offline. But with COVID-19, this gave me the possibility to be able to take it online. And many young people, many young Cameroonians today are really going into the innovation despite the internet connection we are facing. But they really appreciate, because this is an innovation that permits all the young people that wants to learn to be able to discover that we have a lot of platform to acquire new knowledge. This is also a possibility for elders that have good experience, good competency, to be able, despite the distance, despite where they live, to be able to share their experience. For instance, I can say, if I want to organize a workshop in Cameroon and I need Nadal to be able to support, I will not need to mobilize her for her to come to Cameroon. Uh, she'll be able to support, to provide good insight to young activists in Cameroon, based in her city. Okay, so I think this is a really good approach, and it has been really impacting a lot of Cameroonian. And within GCI, we have maximized on that because all offline training. Currently, we do it online. In Cameroon, I can say we organize more than 100 training online where we really impacted young people on leadership, on personal development, on project management, on community development. And we are still organizing these. And I think next week we will be having like 4 trainings that will take place both offline and online. So you see, this is an innovation that we have adopted, and we are trying to see how we can really promote this despite the difficulties we face in our different countries.
Very well said. Congratulations for moving this far. I'm so glad to see that. We are still on the node of developing countries where our literacy rate is still not 80%. So either be at which place we are, we need to develop ourselves as a community of innovation. With this, Sarah, if Impact Dashboard was launched back in 2020 at pandemic, how do you think, and now how do you think you can process before and after situations of how do you think we can present the narrative of e-learning strategies, the community of innovation through the capacity building process for the stakeholders and to build that dialogue with the stakeholders and other forums that can help us to engage and develop those policies within our communities.
Yeah, that's a great question. That we have the proof of concept, so that e-learning does make education more accessible, especially during a pandemic, for example, when it's very obvious that these things aren't as accessible as they may be when there's not a pandemic in the country or in the world. So I think that now that we have that, it's a lot more the entire concept is a lot more legitimized. People did create structures and systems to complement e-learning. And again, now that those things have already been developed, I think that stakeholders and other key entities or individuals, now they know that it works. So kind of pitching the idea of e-learning or a virtual program of any sort, I think now would make the job of something like Impact Dashboard a lot easier, because we have the proof of concept. And a lot of the things that we do pitch and a lot of the advocacy projects that we do amplify don't have that proof of concept. And we're, ultimately creating a proposal and saying that, this is the action plan, this is how we're going to make it work. And again, a lot of the things that we propose are innovative in the sense that they're new, they haven't been done before, they are risky, again, pretty anti-capitalist in nature. And so I think that's how that would be a little bit easier for us, because it's been proven, it does increase accessibility, and it can be a very beneficial, I guess, way or system of going about education, especially when it's not something that everybody, again, can access. And I've been saying accessibility again and again, but I think that's just what's so central to e-learning, and we've seen it. So that's my take on that.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Definitely, it is how it is. Um, the proof is again, I would say that how we all are connected today, and discussing about the solutions for sustainable development and the impact of innovation for us until 2030, or maybe more than that. Who knows? Another pandemic is waiting before 2030. So it's not about revising the policies or what policies we do have, but how we improving ourselves and having innovative solutions on the decks to be able to ready for another pandemic or another crisis, which we never know when we are going to face them. Definitely. Now, like moving towards one of those things that I really, really, really want to ask, and how I felt as a person when I stepped down um, to after the lockdown when I went out and see that how environment looks to me. So I would really, really want to know how it feels like valuing the environment after lockdown, and how do you think it was so accessible for you because of the technology that we were extremely used to by then. Nida, can you go ahead?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question, Hira. I think after lockdown, sort of one of the, key thing, like important things was the face-to-face interaction. So when you are, I mean, online learning is great when you are able to access, sort of trainers, you're able to, access and kind of interact with people that you wouldn't be able to within your, in your city or in your area. So that I think e-learning has its own advantages, and there's great things about that, but the kind of the face-to-face interaction is something very different, to be able to kind of be able to see somebody else, and their body language, and kind of the way that they interact. So I think that was a really important thing, just generally kind of being able to, I think everybody was obviously sort of just stuck kind of in their homes, in their rooms, so being able to kind of sort of experience the environment and be able to go outside and be able to conduct sort of physical things as well, and physical workshops. I just want to add, before kind of Sarah and Stefan were mentioning about sort of the accessibility and kind of the innovation on that side. I think even so, obviously during the pandemic, we had to shift online, and Atom Camp was doing online sort of webinars and trainings anyway, but it also increased sort of the accessibility for like other people as well. So we also conducted some sessions, some courses for kids as well. So I think sort of the using the technology. I mean, yes, there are sort of internet connection issues, and there are sort of not everybody is used to using the technology. But kind of breaking it out to sort of newer groups, so younger students were able to use that technology and kind of learn new skills, and also access sort of different stakeholders and different like trainers even across. So we conducted recently as well a lot of sessions where we've brought in people from like Silicon Valley, for example. So looking at sort of careers on like the tech side, so kind of careers and sort of opportunities beyond for working and things. So I think that's a really you're able to connect with so many people and kind of expand your like sort of diversity and sort of your reach. So I just wanted to mention that. But definitely after lockdown, I think it feels good to be able to kind of go out and sort of do a lot of the things. Things have changed the way that sort of the day-to-day systems, but to be able to go and like sort of see people and conduct physical things, so that was that's a really good thing. But I think continuing with the online things, so as I mentioned about the sort of increased access and diversity, so I think keeping that has its advantages. So I think we should continue on that side, as well as post pandemic being able to conduct different things and go out into the environment.
Well, yeah. Thank you for saying this. Let's move to Sarah. I think Sarah definitely have the most time at home because in Toronto it was 18 months of plus the lockdown was there, and then moving back to the places and with at least four friends, it was it was a big thing. I mean, I'm sure I know from a couple of friends and family that how it's been the Toronto have been through lockdown and with strict policies. By far, it was one of the development country, and upscaling with other things. It was really really tough at the time of pandemic. So, what is your
Yeah.
say about valuing the environment here?
Yeah, no, again, viruses are a fact of nature, pandemics are not, and so we saw again coming back to capitalism and capitalism being in crisis. These are the failures of capitalism. We did not have to be in lockdown for as long as we were in lockdown, but then of course it came down to people just really adhering to the lockdown rules and policies so that we as a community could ultimately come out of it. Actually, yes, so my experience, I guess personally, it was really nice to be able to go for walks after the curfew, etc. Being out and about in nature was the best feeling ever. But while I was in lockdown, I was conducting a research study with a Palestinian youth group and a Kashmiri youth group. And I saw in the chat somebody from Palestine is here, which is great. It's great to have you. But I was conducting that research study, and we were discussing indigenous knowledge production and how community engagement is so central to this process, and how a lot of their healing, a lot of their cultural practices, a lot of their traditions are based upon coming together and being present, and how when that is kind of put on hold, how that impacts not only the physical health of people but also the mental health of people. It's intertwined with their identity, it's intertwined with their with just their daily rituals, or just their systems of being. And so when I think about just being in touch with the environment, and post-pandemic realities, that's the first thing I think about. How it must be so great for these indigenous communities, or members rather of these indigenous communities, to be able to be present again with the environment, with the earth, and again with their community members, to again partake in these healing circles in their traditional, I guess, whatever the specific action items may be. How important it is for them to have access to these things, and how, again, post pandemic, we realize the value that these things had in our life. And I feel like when we lose access to things like just being out and about, and with other human beings, that's when we kind of realize how essential community engagement is, just to operating in a healthy manner, in a healthy way for ourselves as well as the larger community at hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. It was great learning from you about after the curfew analysis of Toronto, but I really appreciate the research you have did. And yeah, so it is about making the productive outcome within the lockdown, and that's what you all young leaders have did, right? Stephen, can you hear me?
Sure.
Oh, hi. So we were discussing about how we have valued the environment after the lockdown. So what is your views about valuing the environment, coming back to in person, as you have also mentioned of moving to a hybrid model for e-learning strategies? What do you think? What will be your few words for ahead for your country, for maybe for the global world of for the sustainable development solutions?
Okay, Aaron, thank you very much. And sorry because the connection is not good. In fact, during the lockdown, we carry out a survey that really shocked us because we saw that COVID-19 has a lot of impact on youth, especially on young girls. The first thing we have is the impact on education. With COVID-19, there was lockdown, no school, and especially in Africa, there was that huge impact due to the fact that many children are not technology aware, if I can say it like that. So it was very difficult to say they're going to continue learning online. It is true in some communities, in some regions, we have um, a lot of support from international organizations providing technology equipment for young people, young children to be able to access education via technology. But this was not everywhere, so there was a lot of impact on education, and this also caused a lot of impact on mental health because be at home not able to do many things, and parents are not able to go to work as they were doing before. Many parents lose their job, so these have a lot of mental impact on their health. And now, but our studies was focused on young girls, and what we noticed was that after the lockdown, the rate of early childhood marriage was very high in Cameroon, and also early pregnancy was also very high in Cameroon, and we had to really develop a contingency plan to be able to address these, because there was a very high rate of abortion after discussing with these children, because they would say the way the parent of the children are not able to take care of these children because they're not working. Most of them have lost their job, and so it was very difficult for these young girls. Now, concerning the economic impact, with COVID-19 and the lockdown, um, there was a very there was a very high demand when it comes to food with limited supply. So in Cameroon, particularly, up to today, we still have this economic inflation in most of the primary codes, and it is really impacting the living of young Cameroonians. So those who are in agriculture are being called to produce more to be able to address this, but it's not really easy because the impact is huge. Cameroon is a country that has been impacted by a lot of crises. We have the Boko Haram crisis in the Fano region that is really impacting, and the Fano region is one of the country that produce most of these food that are being um, s- sh- let's say share in other part of the countries. And now we have the Anglophone crisis, where the Anglophones and the Francophones are like fighting against each other. The Anglophones are like saying they want independency, and this is also impacting the stability of the country. And more to that, we have the ethno-political crisis, where people are now linking politics to different regions of the country. So this is really destabilizing the country. Now, more to that, we have the COVID-19 that is coming and impacting. And today we are talking about monkeypox that is also impacting Cameroon. So you see, with all these, the economic is really impacted, and many people are suffering from the price inflation in the market. So that's what we can observe right now when it comes to post COVID in Cameroon.
Really, thank you so much for saying that. It's a really insightful thought. What we have processed through, what we are coming through, and how we will be moving ahead with all those things. Um, it was a pleasure having you. I think I can only end it by the quote of the former Secretary General of United Nations, Kofi Annan. What he said about our biggest challenge in this new century is to take the idea that seems abstract, sustainable development, and turn it into the reality for all people in the world. And I really felt that in the way, because it's all abstract at the moment, but at the time it's also challenging. But at the same time, we need to build on those solutions, what we are seeing through, and how the narrative should go ahead and build on to our development for our country, and for each of other to live in a better society, a sustainable society, because we all deserve a good, happy, and innovative life. With this, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation, highlighting the frameworks. Yes, Sarah, would you like to go ahead? We,
No, I was just gonna thank you for hosting. I thought you were speaking. I'm sorry, but go ahead, and once you're done, I'll give you my thank yous.
no, 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 that's completely fine. Yeah, uh, that's about the conversation. Thank you for saying the frameworks that we need to address ahead, the solutions that looks broader, the ideas that we all people live in, and with with being young leaders to the country, to the global world. I really hope we can build up to a promising future for others to come. Yes, please say something, Sarah. You were saying something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off earlier. I was just gonna say thank you so much for hosting this and for inviting me. I hope I can stay connected. Stefan, you as well as Nida. You guys are doing such great work, and I've learned so much just listening to you guys. Also, I want to really quickly apologize for the internet connectivity issues. Again, I'm in Karachi, and the Wi-Fi is really bad in my house. But hopefully, we'll all stay connected. And again, thanks so much for inviting me here, Hera.
Thank you. I think all of us are facing great internet issues, but still, that is the power of innovative world. That we are still connected. We are figuring out solutions for good mobile data connections to good internet connections, and then processing ahead with this. Yeah. Thank you, Nida. Thank you, Stephen. Goodbye. Have a good day, Sarah. I hope
Thank you.
it was productive and you guys are up earlier. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.